Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I thought I would make another card with the My Favorite Things. This is the Warm and Fuzzy Friends stamp and die set that was part of their, I think it was the March card kit. The card kit as of filming this is still available, so I will link to that. You can also get the dies and images and paper separately, and the kit just gives you more at a discount. So I will link to both. But I was in the mood to color with colored pencils, so I'm stamping these images onto some craft cardstock with My Favorite Things hybrid black licorice ink, and then I'm using my Faber-Castell Polychromos. Now, I will either have a video coming up right before this or some point after this, just doing a little bit of an unboxing. I actually got these colored pencils back at Christmas time. I had saved up some gift certificates and different things. These are very expensive. You don't need Polychromos. You can use Crayola pencils, Prismacolors, really any colored pencil will work. I got these for Christmas. I've been hoarding them for months. I keep opening the container and I pet them and they're so pretty. And I've just been putting off actually using them. So I will have a separate video just with my initial thoughts about them. I do love them. They're beautiful, no regrets. But yeah, they are quite the investment and I love them. So all I'm doing is using a very light hand. I am not pressing deeply because I don't want to create marks on the cardstock here. And I'm just adding the color, and then I use about 2 or 3 pencils in like progressively darker shades to add a bit of shading. This is honestly my very first time using them, but it's the same idea as any colored pencil. It's just layering some color. I will say the biggest difference between these and the Prismacolor is these are oil-based, Prismacolor are wax-based. And with these, you don't get that wax bloom that you do with the Prismacolor. Both are great. They're just kind of slightly different. And these ones are technically considered higher quality. So I do notice a little bit of a difference here that, yeah, I don't get that kind of shiny, waxy sort of a look that I do get with my Prismacolors, but I still love both sets, will use both sets, and I do have a full set of Crayolas that I'll use, whenever the mood strikes. So I did a bunch of color layering on this, but still kept it fairly simple. Yeah, I just wanted to get these done, so I only spent it took me about maybe 20 minutes to do all of these images. So I just colored them in and added little darker areas with the other pencils. I didn't keep track of specifically what colors I used, you guys. I was pulling them out and then I would just put them back because I didn't want, if you guys could see my desk right now, I didn't want to lose any of the beautiful colored pencils in and amongst. And I also kept putting them back because I wanted to keep them in the order they came in, because if you watch the video like about just the pencils, like how beautiful they are all laid out, my OCD just... That was another reason why I've held off so long using these pencils, because my OCD they're so beautiful. So I did all my coloring and I had stamped all these images, like I said, onto just scraps of craft. That's one thing I like, regardless, again, of what brand of colored pencil you use. I love how they look on craft cardstock, especially like lighter colors like that, the white and sort of cream shades I was using. I love how that pops on craft cardstock. And colored pencils just look nice. Plus, in my personal opinion, craft cardstock is a little more forgiving with whatever coloring you use. But especially with colored pencils, you don't need to be so perfect because it just kind of blends in a little bit more. The not the grittiness, but like how the craft has like the little fibers of different colors in it, and that it just helps to make things look a little bit better. So your coloring doesn't need to be as perfect as it would be if you were coloring on just white cardstock, where things are going to show up a little more. So, I love craft, and the colors look so nice. And with these specific images and this cardstock and just the texture of the pencils that they give, it's just fun. So just a different look than what I normally do, which lately has been like watercoloring all the things. So I did all my coloring. And once I got to the end of it all, I pulled out the coordinating little die set for these. And these dies I'd cut apart because I'd done that for a previous project. You guys know I normally keep all my dies together. But for this set, I had cut them apart, which was just fine. So I just used bits of micropore tape to tape the dies into place because I thought I would just die cut as many of these images at once. It just saves me the time. So I applied the dies, as many as I could at one time, and tape them into place, and then I'm going to run all this through my die cut machine in one pass. So I've die cut most of the images, and then I just ran a second pass through to die cut the 2 remaining trees and that second little owl that I had stamped and colored. And once I had all those die cut, I'm going to run some pattern paper. This is from the Trail Mix pack. This also comes in that kit, or you can get the paper pack separately. But I chose this wood grain, and I'm using the new Blueprints 29 Die-namics. And I used the 2 large dies from that set, and I just used some Post-it tape to hold them into place so they didn't shift so that I could die cut. I die cut this little stitched frame as well as the interior frame here. And then that in smaller sized, like triple frame, I don't know what you call it, I die cut that 3 more times just from some dark brown cardstock. And then I also die cut this little strip with that same die set. There's these little like sentiment flags in the die set. And I die cut some craft cardstock and I stamped a sentiment from that same warm and fuzzy stamp set. And then for all these frames that I cut, I'm adhering all 3 of the cardstock frames together with just some Tombow Monomulti. You got to be careful with this because the stitching, the glue can kind of ooze through the stitching. So I used a really light hand with my Tombow Monomulti. And then I adhered the die cut wood grain over top of that. So it just pops up a little bit because I didn't want it to be completely flat. And then my original idea was to have all these little guys kind of peeking out and around these little frames. So I adhered the moose first, just put a tiny little bit of adhesive there just to hold him into place. And then the little fox I adhered and then decided to have his head kind of popping up above the frame so it's not cut off. And then I adhered the owl and added 2 of the trees. And once I was happy with that little setup, I just cut off the little pieces that were kind of peeking out from the bottom. And then this straight pattern paper is from that same pack. And my idea was to adhere all this. And I will say once I was going along and I knew, I was like, this pattern paper is a little too bright because with these images being stamped on craft, you know, they're a little softer, a little more subtle. And this pattern paper kind of just takes over. But I was going with it anyway. And then the minute I adhered it, I was like, nope, I don't like this. It's like crap. So I didn't do this on camera because I needed to be really careful, but I had to hold it close to my face. I was able to peel up the interior frame and these little critters off that pattern paper very carefully because Tombow Monomulti, you can see it tore bits of the cardstock, but I was really, really careful and able to peel it up so that I could adhere a piece of vellum over that, and that just softened it a bit so these images don't just kind of fade into that pattern paper. And then reapplied this right over top again, so those little torn areas, you don't see any of it, so we will pretend it never happened and that, you know, I was seamless in my card creation this time. So you can't tell. So yeah, I left it in the video to show you guys, like, I totally do things like this all the time. So yeah, thumbs up, it worked. I liked it much better. You can still see the pattern, and yet, yeah, the vellum just kind of dulled it a little bit. And then I adhered the little campfire there so that the fox can be roasting that little marshmallow, and then stuck a little 3D foam square under the sentiment there so that it doesn't flatten out too much. And then I'm adhering this to a craft card base that was cut to 11 inches by 4¼ inches, or no, 5½ by 8½, and then scored at 4¼ So it's a top folding landscape card, an A2 size. And then those remaining little images I adhered to the inside of the card just to finish it off completely, along with that little tiny strip of pattern paper left over just to tie it all together. And that finished it off. So I will have a link below the video to my blog post with the pictures, as well as links to all the supplies used if you're interested in any of that. Check out the description box below the video. That's where everything will be for you. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really, really appreciate it, and I try to respond to as many as possible. And yeah, I will see you guys hopefully very soon in another video. Bye.